Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Developer Waypoints. My name is Peter Mallahan, and to my left,
I'm Nic Raboy.
hey, Nick. Welcome back. We are on the fifth episode of Developer Waypoints of season 2. Right, we're in frameworks. Nick, what's today's episode about? What framework are we doing today?
Today the focus is on Vue.
Cool.
So this is the final framework that we're going to show on this particular season.
It is. So this is part 1 of 2 of Vue. Uh, if this is your first time here, well, welcome. Waypoints is a progressive a series where we progressively build something over a season of episodes, and this season is all about frameworks. So you're coming in at the end. This is the final countdown. So just to let you know, we are live. If you didn't figure that out yet. So if you ever have any questions, comments, feedback, any suggestions for Nick, if you want to stump him, if you want to ask him why he's doing something specifically,
Trash talk me.
trash talk him. I am keeping an eye on chat, and I will let Nick know whatever you say. And
Sure.
I might keep some things to myself.
Got it.
We do. Hey, Lalahan's here. Final framework, yeah. We have a few mods, I think, in chat. I'm not sure if Babs D is here. Palermo might be here. The mods are the users, but they have a little sword icon next to their name. They've been knighted by us. And if you see anybody with a little crystal, a little diamond, they're a VIP. They're a special viewer, friend of the show.
Do they get anything special for being a VIP?
Maybe. I think we can turn on like slow mode or restrict chat to only be
Got it.
followers and stuff. So I mean, maybe. I don't think you get a lot. There's also a subscribe button there for you if you want to subscribe to the show and or donate any bits. You're allowed to. Any revenue that we get, we will donate to an organization called CARE. It's an international relief fund. There's more info below our channel page. I think that's it. That's all my spiels for today. Nick.
What about the spiel that the rest of our episodes of the season are still on demand, right?
Yeah, I mean it's not usually part of the spiel, but I can add that.
No?
Okay, if you're coming in late to this series. You can check out our YouTube playlist right there in chat. So we have a playlist on our YouTube channel that has all of our historical live streams. So if you go find season 2 of Waypoints, you can walk through all the frameworks and get your fill of us. Yeah, that's it.
And I only brought this up because he made it seem like people were missing out, that they missed all the previous episodes.
Okay. Well, I just in case. Go for it. Catch up, and then,
All right.
but don't leave. Stay here and talk with us, and then
Yeah.
you can go catch up.
Definitely, because you don't need to have seen the previous episodes to be successful with this particular episode. And at the end of this episode, I'll be pushing all of the code to GitHub. So Peter, maybe you want to throw up that GitHub link
Sure.
with the past code examples.
Yep.
Um, each
Oh yeah.
well,
Go
go
for
on.
it. No.
I was going to say that each episode has its own paired code example, so it's labeled by season and by episode number. So you'll see exactly what we did on that particular episode.
Oh yeah. All right, Nick, you want to get into it?
Yeah, so we're gonna be working with Vue today. I do have a terminal up. One of the prerequisites to getting started with today's kind of example is you do need the Vue CLI installed. So if you just go to the Vue website, it has instructions on how to install it with npm. But assuming that you've already installed it, I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to do so on my desktop. So I'm going to say Vue create. And for this example, I'm going to call this, what episode are we on, Peter?
5.
Is this 5?
5 of
Let's call it
6.
episode 5. I think for this season I didn't put a hyphen in there. So I'll say episode 5. It's going to ask me a series of questions. I'm just going to say the default. And it'll just take a second to get all of the dependencies that Vue requires. In the meantime, while that's going, what we will be needing for this example is we will be needing our app API key for here. So we're going to be using the here 3.1 JavaScript SDK, which does have a dependency on an API key rather than an app ID and an app code. So we kind of made this upgrade mid-season as 3.1 was released.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that before?
Well, I think in the Angular episodes, it wasn't quite released yet, so we were still using the app ID and app codes. But for this, I think when Dylan came on, we started using the API key.
Cool.
I'm not sure, though.
Okay.
They're very similar. They're not quite the same, but very similar in how you use it, not the token itself.
Okay. But you only need just an API key, so you don't need to reference an app ID or app code?
Sort of. So it depends on what you're doing. So for most circumstances, if you go to our documentation, and I'll open up a new tab here. If you go to our documentation in the developer portal, and it says that we have JS as one of the options, and there are quite a few, the app key will work. If you want to use functionality in your JavaScript application that does not say JS, it just says REST, then you need the app ID and app code. So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Awesome. So I'll go back into my terminal here. It looks like it finished preparing my project, so I'm going to navigate into it. And before I even open it, I'm just going to run it. So I'm going to say npm run, and I'm going to say serve, just like it says in the instructions. And when it's serving, it'll serve it on port 8080, which is the development port. So I'm going to open that in my browser. I'm going to say, let's say localhost 8080. And this is your bare bones view application. We're going to be picking and pulling different functionality out of this basic boilerplate template in order to display an interactive map and have map objects on it. Sound like a plan, Peter?
Sounds like a great plan.
Sweet. All right, so let me stop this. I'm going to open up the project in an editor of choice. For me, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. You could use Atom. You could use some other IDE. Doesn't really matter what you use, as long as you can edit TypeScript or JavaScript and HTML files.
And no collaborative editing today. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. It's just me and Peter.
Yeah, I don't code.
we can change that. So the first step in our basic project is we need to get that SDK installed in this application. So as of right now, to get the SDK into our application, we do need to add it as browser modules. And this is right on the first page of our documentation for the JavaScript API.
I told you to send me links.
Oh, I'll show how to get there. So if you go to developer.here.com.
Okay, I'm there right now.
Go to documentation.
Okay.
You can click it. It'll take a second to load.
Which one is it?
Go to GIS for interactive map.
Interactive maps.
And that's where I'm left off here.
Okay.
You got it now, Peter?
I got it.
Sweet.
I'll share that.
All right, so I'm going to copy those API, those SDK modules. So I'm going to go back into Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go into public index.html, and I'm going to paste it below the comment. So I pasted it in, and I've saved it. So these are two of the many possible SDK modules that you can include in your application. So we have the core map, and we have services, which could be the geocoder and things like that. There are other modules that you could be using. You could be using the UI module, the map events module, things like that. For now, we're going to leave it as this. It's definitely kind of an as you need them type of scenario where you only include them if you're going to use them to kind of reduce the size of your application. So we have the SDK available to us. What we can do is we could go into source now in our directory tree, and I'll close the outline. We can go into components. You'll notice that we do have a hello world component and an app view. The app view is kind of the high level page, which is going to render each of our components. And then hello world has a lot of cruft. It has a lot of, I'll show you, it has all of this text, stuff that we're going to remove.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back in. Rather than just destroying Hello World completely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to just create another version of it, and I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call it here map. So here map.view. And Hello World can still stay there. We're not going to use it in the future, but for now it could just stay there. I'm going to wipe out a lot of our template inside of the here map code. And again, this is in the components directory. I'm going to wipe out this style information because it's not too relevant to us for this example. And I'm going to change the indents because it's got 2 spaces and my editor set up for 4 spaces. So it's going to cause a little bit of visual stress if I went along with it.
Thank you.
It's going to stress me out.
It's going to stress me out too.
All right, perfect. So we are going to clean it up. So not too much to clean.
Okay.
Finally, since we are using here map now, might as well change this to here map as our selector. And we're not using a class, so that could be removed as well. So we've stripped a lot out. We're eventually going to strip this out as well, but for now, that's fine. Now let's go into the app view file. I'll close this hello world because we're not going to use it. I'm going to start removing some things. So for example, I'm going to remove the styles here as well. Not going to use them. I'm going to remove the hello world as well as the image. And I'm going to change hello world in all of these instances to here map because we're not using hello world anymore. We're importing the here map component that we've just cloned, and we're including it because that's the name of our class. Let me fix the indents again one more time. Should be the last time that I have to do it.
Perfect.
All right. Let's go ahead and include that very basic, which is now a very empty component into our app.view file. And it's going to be here map, and there's actually nothing in it. It's just blank. So if I ran this in my terminal here, is that visible, Peter?
Yep.
Perfect. So I'm going to say npm run serve. Let that run for a second. All right. I'm going to go back to my browser, refresh. It's all wiped out. Empty screen. We have a fresh slate.
Clean slate.
Yeah, clean slate. So we've just done the boilerplate stuff right now. Now we're going to get into the heavy lifting, which is view with here. So I'm going to go to that here map view component. And if you followed along with any of the other episodes, or if you particularly saw season 1, you'll know that we have to create a placeholder object or a placeholder element. This element could be a div tag, a canvas, basically whatever you want, but it's going to be swapped out by JavaScript, and our map is going to get added instead. But let's go ahead and add that in. Just going to say div. I'm going to give it some style information. Babs D teaching me something new. I'm going to say the width is going to be 100 VW, which is a viewport width, and height is going to be 100 viewport height. I'm going to close out the div, and I'm even going to give it a background color, so that way we know what we're working with for now.
There you go.
Not necessary, but it's cool to see what's going on as it happens.
So you actually know what's going on.
Yeah, let's just call it silver, or you can
Silver.
do a hash color as well, or RGB color. It's up to you. I can go back into my browser. It's silver. It's got a little bit of margin. Let's go ahead and remove that margin real quick. We can do that inside the app view file. I lied here. I guess we can add a style. Let's go ahead and call this body for the body tag because that's where the margin is. This is just basic HTML stuff, nothing particular with view. But for body, let's go ahead and say margin is 0.
Okay. I only wear Lacoste says Vue.js. Oh.
All right.
Any commenting that you put the body, the background color says that goes in the style section, Nick.
Which style section?
Why did you put margin?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Style.
I'm doing totally bad code. All right, so I guess I can go back on everything that I've said now. Let's fix that. Thanks for calling me out.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna add a style. Let's go ahead.
You just did a style to get rid of the margin, didn't you?
I know, but so the way that Vue works is you're supposed to have specific styles on a per component basis. So because this particular map element is going to be in the here map component, it's a good idea to keep that style information in that same component. See how it's scoped? It means that it's to this particular component. Whereas in here, it's not scoped, but this is kind of the root level view component. So I was
telling
able to
everything to not have a margin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm just telling the body not to have a margin.
Okay.
The body being the basic HTML tag.
Okay.
But let's go ahead and call this. Let's call it maybe I don't know, map. I can add it here, clean it up a bit.
And look, it formats it and makes you.
It makes it a little better, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna call this
good call,
class.
You gotcha.
Map. I'm gonna save it. Hopefully, it still works. It looks like it still works. There's
Nice.
no. Maybe it doesn't work.
Uh-oh.
It doesn't look white. It looks silver, right? Let's maybe
white.
change it. It's white. All right.
Yeah.
Let me do a more defined color here.
Oh, we also got a new follower, Geronimo. Welcome.
It's weird. It's
ID selector, says Lacoste.
Yeah. Yeah, ID. My bad. Not class. That explains it. Yeah, so it's pink now. So just for clarification and nice catch, I used the hash symbol here, so it's an ID. If I used a period, it would have been a class. ID being that I only plan to use one of it on this particular page. It's unique. All right, so we have that information. We have our kind of base stuff going on here. Now let's change some things. We know that we're going to be using an API key. We probably want to pass it in our app view. We probably want to pass it in right here. Maybe we call it API key. We'll leave it blank for now. But that's kind of the goal of what we want to accomplish. We've seen this before in other episodes. We're gonna follow that same strategy. So to do that, we need to define a property for API key. So we have props. We have message, which was part of hello world. We're going to change this to API key, and this is going to be of type string. So now we're saying we can accept a property called API key. This is where we get into the view specific stuff. So we want to make use of the view lifecycle events. So we want to be able to worry about when the view application was created, when the view was mounted, so that way we can interact with things. So let's start with the created. This is a reserved view function. This is when the component's created. This is where we're going to initialize our here map or our here platform. So we can say something, and actually before I do that, I want to create some member variables for this particular class. And we could do that by creating a data function. So data, this is a function. It's going to return anything that we should be able to use inside of this class. So we're going to say return. I'm going to create something called platform. For now, this is just going to be an empty object. And that gives me the permission inside of the created method to say this.platform. So it's scoped for this whole class and not just this particular method.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Lacoste says, want to hire me?
Maybe. All right,
see,
so
we'll see how Nick finishes this season.
Yeah,
we get a
you
replacement
want to be on
for
the
season
next episode? You could be my fill-in. So this platform, we initialized the SDK, so we're going to say new h.service.platform, and we're going to provide the API key, and it's this.API key. Because we have access, it's a member variable because it was in props as well. So we have access to it as well as here. It's blank though because we never put anything in it in the app view file. I can go ahead and copy that from my developer portal. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back into code here, paste it in. And if I went back to my application now, it's still not going to do anything. I don't have anything going on. I've just initialized the platform, which at this point now I can say, do I want to use an interactive map? Do I want to use the geocoder? It's not specific. The platform's not specific to maps. It's just specific to the services that here offers as part of the HLS, otherwise the Here Location Services platform.
Gotcha. Lacoste says sure. We'll take over.
All right. Sounds good.
You're out, Nick.
I'm out. All right. I knew this was coming. I knew people were getting sick of me.
One more bug and you're out.
One more bug? All right. I'll have to step up my game.
Only perfect code from here on out.
Sounds like something D. Babs would say.
I don't know. He's not here today. I don't know where he is. He's slacking.
I know, right? So we have the platform initialized. Now what we want to do is we want to initialize the map. So we'll create another variable for this so that way it's scoped throughout the entire class. I'll call it map. Keep it simple. And we want to we can't do it inside of the created method because the map is a visual component, and we can't work with visual components until we're sure that the view has finished rendering. So for that, we have to use a different view lifecycle event. So we have to use the mounted event. So this is, again, another reserved view function. Happens after the created, but after the view has initialized. And we're going to say something like this.map equals new h.map. And we're going to provide it some parameters here. The first parameter we don't actually have yet. Well, we sort of have, but not really. So we have this DOM element, but we can't use a query selector like we would in vanilla JavaScript. We can't say document get element by ID because that's the vanilla way to do things, not the framework way to do things. Okay. So instead we have to create a reference variable. To do that, we say ref, and we give it a name. In this case, I'm just going to conveniently call it map again. The map and the ref and the map and the ID, totally coincidence that they're named the same thing. They don't have to be, as long as you're consistent in where you're using them.
Would you want to name them differently? So you, no?
You can. I mean, these are pretty strong indicators. This is a pretty strong indicator that I'm going to be styling a map, and this is a pretty strong indicator that I'm going to be using a map.
Okay.
You can call it whatever you want, but I guess determine your own best practice for the naming convention.
Okay.
So we have that. Now we can actually make use of it. So we can say this dot refs with a $sign dot map. So that's the first parameter. Second parameter is we need to create a layer for this map. So I can say this dot platform dot create default layers dot vector. So vector is part of 3.1. So we have vector maps now. Normal dot map. So we're using a normal daytime map. That's vector, so HD. We have the next one would be a center, not center, an object that contains center, so that we can center the map. Do you have a latitude and longitude for me, Peter?
Oh no,
putting you on the spot.
No. Do you?
All right, I'm going to use the same one I always use because it's short and easy, and I know it's somewhere in the United States. So I'm going to say this, and this is somewhere in California. I'm going to define the zoom of this particular map. This is a zoom of 1 through 20 value. So I'm going to set it to 12. Actually, let's set it to 10. And I can save it. Now, in theory, it should display a map on the screen now. This code right here should replace this particular HTML element with our here map. So I'll go back to Chrome. It's already there for me.
There you go. Wait,
so
did you refresh it or did it?
So the hot reloader, every time I save it, I mean, it's hit and miss. I wouldn't depend on it too much to refresh, but it did in this circumstance.
Nice.
So we have a map. It's not interactive though. I'm dragging around, nothing's happening. This threw me up in our bonus episode in season 1, where I was trying to interact with the map and didn't realize I had forgot to include some lines of code.
You forgot to include the interactivity.
Yeah, exactly.
The interactive parts.
So we're not going to make that mistake again. Let's go ahead and add it. So we're going to go back to the index.html file for that. I'm going to clone the line. I'm going to include another SDK module. I'm going to call it, it's called map events. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to make use of it in the here map component. So I'm going to say inside of because this is a visual component here. It's going to be used inside the mounted after I define the map. So I'm going to say let map event equals new h.map events.map event. This is going to be this.map. Then I'm going to hook it up to a behavior. And this is just a here thing. I'm not sure why the process is the way it is, but it's not too much out of the way to do it.
Okay.
But we're going to say let. Oh, were you going to say something, Peter?
Lacoste is asking if the map right now is just an image or is interactivity just disabled?
I believe it's just an image.
Okay.
I could be wrong though. I'm not entirely
whatever
sure.
Map tile you've loaded into it, that's just the only one that shows, right?
Well, it's several map tiles, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just pulling several map tiles and just.
I don't think it's technically an image though, right?
It's probably not an image. It's probably just something that there's no functionality to consume more map tiles upon interaction, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So h dot map events dot behavior map event. So I save it. Hopefully that's right. Otherwise, I lose my position here as a streamer. It looks like it is.
Uh-oh.
I think it might be map events plural. Unless I have a typo. Let's try plural. 1 second. Save it. Refresh it.
There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So it was an issue with plural. It's map events, not singular.
Okay. Gotcha.
Got it. So we've got an interactive map now.
Awesome. Oh, we got a nice comment from Geronimo saying hi from Germany. First time watching our stream on Twitch. Welcome, Geronimo. We've got plenty of content. We've got actually the next couple weeks are every Wednesday. We stream every Wednesday. Welcome and welcome from Germany.
Very nice.
If you have any questions at any point, go ahead and ask. We're live, so we can answer it.
Yep, please. Yeah, stop me at any time. And then I just noticed that it is 11:30 almost.
Oh, so I'm supposed to tell you that, Nick.
I am conscious of time, so don't worry.
That's my
We're
job.
not in a hurry, though.
Hey, you're not supposed to take my job.
Yeah, well, all right. I won't take your job. I like having you around.
Okay.
So
Lacoste can have Babsty's job if Babsty doesn't show today.
Sure. So we have an interactive map. Maybe now we want to add objects to that map. Maybe we want to add markers. Maybe we want to add polylines, shapes. Who knows? Just things that would be useful in a typical map kind of setting. We could do that directly inside of the mounted function, or we can create our own functions for that. Let's go ahead and, for the sake of just exploring Vue, let's just go ahead and add another set of functions. So inside of the class, just go ahead and create a methods object. This is a Vue word here. Let's go ahead and create a method maybe called drop marker. Is all my code on the screen visible, Peter, or do I need to rearrange anything?
No, it cuts off like right below network, so that's pretty much the bottom of your screen.
Cool.
We have it a little bigger because it's only 2 of us on.
All right.
Remember?
Yeah, sounds good. I'll say position. So this is our drop marker. To add a marker, what we can do is we can say let marker equals new h.map.marker. We can add the position, which we're passing into this particular function. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. I'm going to say this.map.add object, and I'm going to say marker. So this would add a marker to our existing map object. Now let's see it in action. Let's go ahead and let's add it in the mounted function. Then we're going to explore adding it through the app.vue file.
Okay.
So I'm going to say this.drop marker because this is a member function. I'm going to define a position, which is an object. It's lat. I'm going to go ahead and use 37
as my lat and longitude is going to be -121. I'm going to save it. And I'm going to go back to my browser, and we have a marker at the center of our map. So that's one way to do it. Another way that we could do it is if I open up Visual Studio, I can go back to the app.view file, and we could add a reference to this map. So that way we can use actual methods on this instance, and we could do it in the same approach that we saw previously with a reference variable. So what I can do is I can name it whatever I want again. It doesn't have to match what I have it in the here map view file. I'm just going to call it map anyways, just for the sake of calling it, because it is a map to me. With that, I could do the same approach. I have a class here. I have access to the same lifecycle hooks, the same things that I would typically have. So I'm going to say mounted, and I'm going to say this. Let's first of all say let map equals this dot refs dot map. Oops, I don't know what just happened here. Map dot drop marker. Do you have a different position for me that's still within viewing range, Peter?
I don't know. Just add a 0.5 to both of those. I don't know.
All right, well, let's see what those.
Too far.
I have no idea. Usually, yeah. Usually it's a little far. I don't know. We'll try this and work our way up, right?
Mm-hmm. Lacoste also says you can hit Control B to hide the sidebar if you want to, or Command B.
Yeah, I guess so, because we're not using those files on the left anymore.
True. So hold on, you're calling this mounted function from your export, where you have it set up in the here map view?
So we have it inside of the here map component. So when the here map component has rendered in the mounted, then it calls this. Okay. But for this, when the app.view file is finished rendering, and that means that the here map has finished rendering and everything else in this app.view component has finished rendering, then the mounted function triggers here. So it kind of triggers after the mounted function in the here map, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I saved it, kind of. We could revisit it if it doesn't make sense. So we have another marker here. Nice. So it seems to work. So I was able to do it both ways, just for clarity. So now, if I wanted to, any method that I have inside of my here map component, I can actually access it directly inside of the view, and that's for just this instance. So if I created another here map instance inside of the app.view file, I would have two different instances where maybe variables are slightly different inside of one than the other. They're kind of isolated.
Okay.
So let's keep adding more. So we've got a marker. Let's maybe add a circle. So I'm just going to do it in function format here. I'm just going to say maybe draw circle. I'm going to give it a position and a radius. And a lot of this is probably overkill too, but the reason why I'm doing it as in methods rather than just dropping it directly inside the mounted is because I want to give that opportunity. If I wanted to call it from the app.view file, I could. Whereas if I just did it directly inside the mounted function, it would be completely isolated to this particular component, and I would not be able to access it directly in the app.view file.
Gotcha. Setting up for the future.
Yeah, future proofing is good. Let's go ahead and say let circle equals new h.map.circle. A cool trick that I learned here is if it has map in the namespace, it's a map object. I think that applies. It's applied for everything that I've used thus far during my time at here. So I want to say that's accurate for the long run, but I could be wrong. So this is a map object. It could be treated like such. We have a position. We have a radius. And then we say this dot map dot add object and circle. We can go through the same process here. Let's go ahead and go into the app.view file. I'm just going to add it here. We're going to say map.draw circle. I'm going to provide it a position. And let's give it a large radius. This is in meters, so if I were to give it something small, we probably wouldn't be able to see it. So 10,000 meters should be fine. Let's go ahead and go back to the browser, and we have a nice circle crafted here.
Beautiful, beautiful circle. Geronimo is asking if there's a kind of free tier and what are the limitations. There is a free tier. You can do all this for free right now. I think I have the link. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. So you just have to create an account. It doesn't require a credit card or anything. And what are the calls? The limits? For
yeah. So
free?
you get 250,000 requests per month for free, and then it just resets every month. And then if you do exceed, then you could choose to go onto a different plan. You could either do pay as you go kind of, and it's $1 for every 1,000 requests, or the pro plan is I don't want to quote the price,
All right.
but there's a price to it, and it you do get, I think, like 1 million requests or something like that. So it's you have options.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A lot of people are fine with just the free stuff. It's quite generous in the amounts that you get.
Yeah. Yep. So if you're we'll have this episode up. You can watch it on Twitch, and then after a week it'll be up on YouTube. So you can go back, rewatch this, sign up, and then you can also download the GitHub, the files afterward too. So
yeah,
if you want to catch up, you can.
Cool.
Good
I'm
question.
yeah.
Lalahan says $4.49 a month, 1 million requests. That's the pro one. Lalahan?
Perfect.
Oh, Lacoste says, ask what's that in Fahrenheit, which I think that's like 200, 250
Fahrenheit
requests.
Wait, but I don't understand. That's the temperature.
I know, that's a joke.
Oh, all right.
Never
I didn't
heard of
get the
it?
joke. No.
Lacoste asks, 1 request equal 1 map tile. What do you define a request? That's
Yeah, so it's a little different for the map, for the interactive map. So with vector tiles, I think there's, off the top of my head, I think there's 6 vector tiles per request. So you'd call 6 tiles, 6 requests. So it varies, but for the APIs like the geocoder and things like that, you make a request to geocoder, that's 1 request.
okay.
Yeah, it's listed in the documentation. It's not something I have off the top of my head.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, the last thing I was going to do is I was just going to draw a line to connect the two, and then I think that puts us at a good stopping point as there wasn't too much to do for Vue, but it does kind of align us with what's coming for the next episode as well.
Perfect.
So let's go back into the code. Go back to here map. I'm going to add another function. I'm just going to go with our same kind of strategy here. Draw a line. I'm going to give it it's going to take a start position and an end position. Now, with a line, you don't need to have just 2 points. You could have many points. But for this example, we're only going to have 2. For scenarios on many points, for example, so when you're drawing a route, like a navigatable route, like with highways and stuff, those are going to include many points. And that's how you get a line that's kind of jagged and not straight. But when we have a start and finish, it's just going to be a straight line. To do that, we have to create a line string. So we're going to say line string equals new h.geo.linestring. And the line string is just a collection of points. So every point that will be rendered in our shape. So whether that be a polyline or a polygon, whatever it may be, this is how we construct it. What we can say is we can say line string dot push point. We can say start, which is going to be an object. And we could do the same thing for finish. Next up, we want to create a polyline. So we're going to say let polyline equals new h.map.polyline. And we're going to say line string for now. And then we can add it to the map as an object. So this.map.add object. And we're going to say polyline. Now, for the sake of this example, we're going to use the 2 points that we're representing as markers So let's go ahead and draw those. So we're going to say map.draw poly. I think it's draw line. I'm going to paste it in. So first line is going to be this, and the second line is going to be just without the decimal.
By line, you mean an anchor point, right?
Yeah. So let's see what this looks like. So I have a line. It's very thin. So we're going to change that. We're going to make it a little thicker, maybe a little easier to see, because for all we know, that could look kind of like a river, right? Very straight and confusing river. So let's go back into here map. We're going to add some style information to our polyline before it gets added to the map. We're going to say add an object. So this is our options. Add a style. And we're going to say line width is going to be, let's say, maybe 5, or let's say 7. We can also change the color if we wanted to as well. But let's go ahead and check it out. And you notice now it's a little easier to see, right?
Nice.
Yeah. So it wasn't too hard to do any of that. So we have a very nice Vue project, very simple, but very well designed and very clean. And it could be very easily expanded for a full production type of application.
Cool.
And this kind of leads us into next week's episode, which is going to be on routing. And I was going to make it interesting. I was going to try to at least make an attempt to solve kind of maybe the traveling salesman problem. Where
What's the
you
traveling
want
salesman problem?
So my interpretation of it, and I could be totally wrong, is
it like a thought experiment thing?
No, it's a thing. It's a mathematical thing that I recently found out about. So if you have a point and you have many points on the map, you want to hit a series of countries and then return home, and you want to do that in the most efficient way possible, what would your route look like? Okay. So we're gonna try to calculate which waypoints do I go to in what order to get me to each one the fastest and then get me back home.
Nice.
Or in another scenario, which I think is a little more cooler, I think it's still relevant to the traveling salesman problem, but say you're a package delivery person, you're at a main warehouse distribution center, and you know that you have maybe 100 package addresses that you've got to reach throughout your day. What's your travel look like? Which points do you hit in which order, right? To be efficient.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try that, see how well it goes, but we're gonna have some fun in the process.
Nice. Geronimo's asking if there's a GitHub repo with example code. There's exactly that. We have that.
Yeah.
So if you check out this link in chat, it's separated by season and by episode of Waypoints. Right now we're on season 2, and this is episode 5. So at the end of today's episode, which will be soon, Nic is going to push his code up to a new folder. You can go inspect all that and run it yourself if you want. Do you want to maybe go over a little bit of the biggest differences maybe with Vue and what we've done in the past couple episodes?
Biggest differences? I mean, it's just a total different framework. So I mean, let me pull
everything. Everything.
Yeah, let me pull up the live streams. So we'll go to season developer waypoints season 2. So if I recall correctly, honestly, that was a bad idea to click on all of them. But for season 1,
where's episode 4? Did Babs do not push?
It's a great question. I'm going to go harass him after this.
Okay.
I totally thought I saw him push, but I am incorrect. All right, shame on him. Episode 1 was Angular. We basically saw what we saw in Vue today. So just basically create an Angular component with map code. Episode 2 was me selecting different, say, states or cities and having it be highlighted on the map. Remember that, Peter?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So you could kind of separate different regions and have it visualized. Episode 3, React, was, again, the starter point for React. So it's what we saw for Angular and Vue. Episode 4, we worked with isolines.
Mm-hmm.
That was React. And then, like I said, episode 6 is going to be hopefully some complicated routing stuff, not just simple routes.
Awesome. It's a nice little season you had planned for us, Nic.
Yeah, and
Good work.
we're looking for ideas for season 3.
Yeah. So I think probably before our final episode of the season, we'll have maybe like a tweet go out to get some feedback for what we should do for season 3. So we're looking for input from our viewers and our community to let us know what you're looking for. Maybe any type of if you want us to do a deep dive on something specifically, or to explore something that we haven't talked about yet. But yeah, so I'll probably put together a poll or something like that, and we can run it during the stream next time.
Sure.
And then have something also on Twitter just for a longer term collection of data. Lacoste says another job opportunity. Babsty, it's coming for you. And Lacoste also likes the increment, likes that it becomes incrementally more complex. I like that too.
Yeah, that's the goal. And then, I mean, my personal goal was we have a bunch of this starter stuff for the first 2 seasons, and then we really get into realistic use cases going forward with, I guess, complicated stuff.
Yeah. So which of these 3 frameworks was your favorite so far, Nic? I guess.
So I'm a fan of Vue. I personally find that it's very easy to use and it's clean, and it doesn't change as frequently as the other frameworks do. So it's reliable that I can come back a month later and it would still work. But that's my own personal preference.
Nice. What was Angular? It was like you kind of had to say, "Oh, this is the version we're working with," so just in case it changes, it might not work.
Angular is one of those things that it changes what sometimes feels like daily. So what you did yesterday may no longer work today, and people will totally disagree with me. I'm making wild accusations here, but
Lacoste likes Vue.
I have
the thumbs up.
I have rough times with Angular sometimes. I like it. It's just the updates they kill.
Okay. All right. Is that it, Nic?
I think that's it.
Cool. Let's go back to there we go. Yes, so this episode will be available on Twitch for the next 2 weeks. By next week on Wednesday, it should be uploaded to YouTube and be available to watch there on demand. But actually, if you watch on Twitch as a past broadcast, you can see the chat running as we were live, so you can actually have references and the links that we shared. Hey, look at you, Geronimo. Yeah, so you can find our past broadcasts on our YouTube channel in our playlist. You can see all of the past episodes there. And if you still have questions after, it's not Twitter, it's social, I think, right? Yeah, there you go. Did I add yours? I don't think I added yours, Nic.
I'm not important enough.
No, I have it. I have like a quick link that I can paste. So you can find Nic on Twitter right there. Nic Raboy. Nic Raboy on Twitter.
Yes. Not NRA boy.
Not NRA boy. He literally gets mistaken for that constantly.
Yes. Constantly.
But if you still have questions after this episode and after we're offline, you can join us on Slack. We have our own little Slack community over here. So you can join us and ask us questions after the fact. We have some members that post when they make blog posts about stuff that they make with our stuff. So it's pretty cool. So go ahead and join us over there. We'll be answering questions for a bit. And what else? Next episode, next Wednesday, we have. Is it the last episode of? No, second to last of.
Yeah, I think we have 2 left.
Okay. We have another series called AWS Connections. Michael Palermo and Nic, they are on the 3rd episode of diving into serverless, and they're going to be doing places.
I don't want to quote him on that. I don't know. We're doing something with serverless. It'll be fun. Join in.
Join us. next Wednesday. I'll be there. I'll just be behind the scenes. I might pop in. And then the week after that, which is, oh no, Nick, that's the one thing I didn't do. Dang it.
What?
I was supposed to write down the actual dates so I can actually share the dates. Yeah, okay. Wednesday, the 14th. That's the next episode of AWS Connections. And then the next Wednesday, the August the 21st, is the final episode of Season 2 of Waypoints, which is the Part 2 of Vue.
Yep.
So tune in. Next 2 Wednesdays, we're live. Do we have any shameless plug for today? Anybody in chat? Shameless plug? It's the only chance. All right. Lalahan, anything going on? Babsty, you still want your job? Okay, I guess not. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Make sure that you click that little purple heart to follow our channel so you can get notifications. Make sure that bell is ringing so you can get push notifications. It's great when we go live. So in case you forget, oh no, it's 11 a.m. I forgot. You got a notification in your inbox that we're live. Lacoste, thanks for joining us. Geronimo, great to have you. Look forward to future streams, and we'll see you next time. Are you gonna say bye, Nick? You're just gonna sit there. You didn't say bye.
I'm waving.
All right. See you next time, everybody.